And so those two figures, it really depends. Some markets, the permitting and construction process may only take 4 to 6 months. In other markets, I was on with one of our Miami agents, and they're like, a lot of these plans, the architect or the general contractor, whoever will submit them to the county, they're going to sit with the county for 4 months before they actually get stamped and approved. Wow. And that's if they get approved on the first go. If they go back and forth and the county says denied because you need to change this wall and that and this and that, it could be 5, 6, 7 months. So it really depends. It's market by market. And that's why you want to work with somebody who's got good local presence so that your agent knows, okay, I know the build out's going to take 7 months. I'm going to go negotiate 8 or 9 worth of build out time or whatever. Or you might be in a more rural area and like, hey, I can walk down to the county planning and zoning department and get some answers pretty easily. And if that's the case, it might only take you 2 or 3 months or 4 months. It just depends. But to your point, we're going to have a build out time frame, and then we are also going to have free rent after that once you're open for business.
Nice.
But
okay.
There's so many different, just a question on that. Like you have so many people who run into so many like speed bumps or hurdles. Cause like I have a guy who has a 20,000 square foot facility that he's opening in a very rural area. There's nothing around. And he has had to postpone his opening 6 months because his county they take longer. So then when he negotiates this lease, like say it ends up being, and you guys have thought, well, this is the average time, but what happens when it's outside of the average time? It ends up being 3 months past when it would start. Then what do you do at that point? You can't really.
Yeah. So a couple things. One, many times you might see LOIs where we try to negotiate a time rather than give us 6 months of build out time. We say give us 90 days or 120 days or 150 days from approved permits. Meaning, if it's going to take a week to get the permits, then at that point, our 4 months of build out time starts. If it's going to take 4 or 5 months to get permits, at that point, that's when our build out time starts. Now, landlords push against that because they're like, well, how am I going to have any control over when you get your permits? What if it takes 6 months for you to get your designs figured out and before you even submit? Like, I don't want to sit on this space. So there is negotiation back and forth. That doesn't always work for sure. Most of the time, the landlords are going to want a specific window of time. With that said, you can negotiate things into that clause that give you some potential extensions. But even if you don't have that, if you've got a third party, you've got somebody that's removed from the situation, an agent. A lot of times your CARR agent would call the landlord and just say, hey, we just signed this 5-year or 10-year lease. This is the start of a good long-term relationship that we want to be here for the next decade or more. And it looks like construction is going to take 2 months longer because we were just waiting on the county. And so if you want the best shot of this business succeeding, we need a little extra help on the front end. And so having somebody that knows how to have some of those conversations and how to package it and frame it for the landlord is really helpful. It beats you just calling up the landlord and begging for extra time because once the lease is signed, it's a legal document, right? And so if you've got somebody though that knows how to have those conversations, that's really helpful.
Yeah, I think it's critical. It sounds like for a new owner.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know so many people